Hey there, time travelers. It's your friendly neighborhood timekeeper, Timmy the Time Clock, tick-tocking his way back to bring you the best of nostalgia. We're diving into the nostalgic depths of yesteryears, exploring the moments that made us who we are today. Get comfy, join me on this trip down memory lane, and let's uncover some timeless treasures. Imagine cruising down the highway in your sleek car, feeling like a star in a sci-fi movie. You hit a button, and your headlights pop up with a cool whir, making your ride even cooler. Sounds awesome, right? Well, not every shiny car feature turns out to be gold. From stiff bench seats to finicky pop-up headlights, the road to modern car tech is littered with ideas that flopped big time. So, back in the day, think of those classic cars from the 60s and earlier. Cars usually came with what they called bench seats. Imagine your living room couch, but in your car. These seats stretched from one side of the car to the other, allowing about 3 people to sit up front side by side. It was like everyone shared one big seat, which made a car ride feel more like a communal road trip. Now, you might wonder, why don't we see these anymore? Well, as cars got more advanced, so did our understanding of what makes a safe and comfortable ride. First up, comfort. Turns out those bench seats weren't doing any favors for our backs. They were pretty flat and didn't offer much support, which is a bummer on longer trips. Then there's safety. With car safety standards getting stricter, the bench seats started to look a bit risky, especially because they didn't really support the use of modern seat belts and airbags effectively. And then came ergonomics, the science of making things comfy and efficient for human use. Individual bucket seats, which are what most cars have today, are shaped to fit our bodies better. They come with contours and padding that help keep us snug and secure, which is a big deal if you're spending a lot of time on the road. So, while bench seats might give you a nostalgia vibe and more room to squeeze in an extra friend, they just couldn't keep up with the times in terms of comfort, safety, and design. But, do you know which innovation had an even bigger fail in history? Vent windows in cars. Back in the day, before cars were all fancy with built-in air conditioning, these small windows were a big deal. They were positioned right at the front of the car's side windows. You could pivot them open to let a breeze flow right in, which was pretty neat for getting some fresh air and staying cool while driving. So, why did these handy little windows disappear? Well, as car technology got cooler, literally, things started to change. Once air conditioning in cars went from being a luxury to a standard feature, the need for these vent windows started to drop. Why manually adjust a tiny window when you can press a button and get chilled air, right? Plus, there's a whole aerodynamics thing. Cars are designed to slice through the air with as little resistance as possible, which helps them with fuel efficiency and reduces noise. Those little vent windows, as cool as they were, stuck out like a sore thumb when it came to streamlining the car's design. So, car makers started ditching them for cleaner, smoother door lines that not only looked better, but also helped cars zip along more efficiently. Vent windows just couldn't stand up to the advances in car design and technology. They're a neat piece of automotive history, but like many old-school features, they were left behind in the race for efficiency and convenience. It's the 1950s or 1960s. Rock and roll is booming, and car manufacturers decide to jump on the music hype train by installing record players right into the dashboard of cars. Yep, you could literally spin a vinyl while cruising down the highway. Sounds pretty cool, right? These car record players were all the rage among those looking to bring the comfort of their living room tunes onto the open road. But here's the catch. Cars and vinyl records aren't exactly a match made in heaven. Imagine trying to listen to your favorite track, and every bump in the road makes the needle skip. Not so much fun anymore, huh? The reality was, cars are far from the stable, vibration-free environment needed for a smooth vinyl experience. Every pothole or speed bump could jolt the needle, ruining both the mood and the record. Plus, technology was fast on its heels with more durable, road-friendly options. Enter cassette tapes, and later CDs. Both much more suited for the bumps and bounces of road travel. These new formats could hold more music and were less sensitive to the movements of the car, making them a better option for music lovers on the go. So, While the idea of the car record player might hit the nostalgic sweet spot, it was quickly outpaced by innovations that better matched the dynamics and often unpredictable nature of driving. It's a classic example of a cool idea that just didn't quite fit with the practicalities of everyday life on the road. You might have seen these shiny decorative bars on the sides of some older luxury cars and wondered what they were all about. Originally, these bars were designed to mimic the look of the folding roofs on horse-drawn carriages, known as landaus. On cars, these bars weren't functional. They were purely for looks, giving vehicles a more upscale, classic appearance that hinted at old wood luxury and opulence. Now, you might be asking, why don't we see them anymore? Well, as it turns out, what's hot in car fashion changes pretty fast. Over time, consumer tastes evolved and people started leaning toward a more modern, streamlined look for their rides. Those ornate, somewhat flashy landau bars began to feel a bit outdated, a relic from a bygone era of automotive design. They were seen as unnecessary bling that didn't really fit with the new, sleek, and minimalistic design coming into vogue. Plus, there's a practical side to it as well. Modern cars were all about efficiency, better gas mileage, better aerodynamics, and less unnecessary weight. Decorative features like landau bars just didn't make the cut in this new era of car design, where every detail has a purpose. As cars moved into the future, landau bars got left in the dust, remembered fondly by some as a symbol of a different time in automotive history. Let's gear up to talk about something you might have seen in older cars, but not so much in newer ones. Back in the day, instead of having a gear stick on the floor between the seats, many cars had their gear shifts mounted right on the steering column. Yep, right up there by the wheel. This was a stick that you'd move up and down to change gears, from park to drive or reverse. It was pretty common in many cars, especially from the 1930s to the 1980s in North America. So why did car makers shift away from these column shifters? Well, as car interiors got a makeover to become more stylish and ergonomic, the old column shifters started to seem a bit clunky and outdated. Enter the floor shifters. These new kids on the block were not only easier to reach, but also felt more natural to use. They allowed for a more intuitive driving experience, especially as cars started getting sportier and sleeker designs. Plus, with the rise of center consoles that offered extra storage space and cup holders, it made sense to integrate the gear shift into this new setup. It's all about making things feel right at your fingertips, right? So, as cars evolved to become more user-friendly and packed with features, the good old column shifter just didn't cut it anymore. Now, doesn't that make you wonder how folks back in the day felt about switching from the classic column to the snazzy new floor shifters? Must have been quite the ride. Remember when cars weren't just about getting from point A to point B? They were about making a statement? Enter pop-up headlights, those cool, quirky features on sports cars that made them look like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. During the day, these headlights would hide away, giving the car a sleek, seamless look. But when night fell, bam! Out they popped, ready to light up the road and turn heads. They were all about the wow factor, adding a dash of drama and a pinch of playfulness to the cars. But why did these flashy features fade into the background? Well, as fun as they were, pop-up headlights came with their share of headaches. For starters, they were pretty complex mechanisms. More moving parts means more things that can go wrong, and when they did, fixing them could cost a pretty penny. Then there's the whole aerodynamics issue. When car designers were sweating over how to slice a few more miles out of every gallon of fuel, pop-up headlights are like sticking a pair of open hands out the window. They might have looked cool, but they weren't doing any favors to the car's fuel efficiency. And we can't forget about the safety regulations. As laws got stricter about how cars must be built to protect both the people inside and outside the vehicle, those protruding headlights started to look a bit like a liability. They could be dangerous in a crash, posing risks to pedestrians and other road users. Let's roll back to a time before everyone had smartphones in their pocket. Picture this. It's the 80s and 90s, and having a phone in your car wasn't just cool. It was the ultimate status symbol. Built-in car phones were a big deal. They were usually installed in the center console or beneath the dashboard. And man, if you had one, it meant you were pretty important. Or at least you wanted to look like you were. It was like saying, "Look at me, I'm busy and important. I need to make calls while zipping down the freeway." But why did these once coveted car phones disappear? Well, as it turns out, technology was about to have a massive growth spurt. Enter the era of the mobile phone. Suddenly, everyone could carry a phone in their bag or pocket, which meant you weren't tethered to your car to make a call. Mobile phones started to get smaller, better, and more affordable. And let's not forget about the hassle of maintaining a car phone. They were expensive to install and maintain, and why bother when you could just carry your mobile phone into your car and everywhere else? Plus, with advancements in technology, car systems started to integrate Bluetooth technology, allowing you to connect your personal mobile phone for hands-free calling. This integration was more efficient, safer, and way more flexible. So what do you think was the final straw that made car phones go from must-have to no thanks? Was it the convenience of mobile phones or just the evolution of car technology making them unnecessary? Let us know your thoughts on this in the comments below. Until next time.